And hello and welcome to the Renny Show. Hello, Jenny. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you this
Very good, thank you.
mid-January
Yes.
mid-January
Cold,
day?
cold, but good, thank you. And all the better for seeing you. Um,
Mm.
so, as always, folks, if you're watching, you know we're all about keeping this real. So we do have to admit we're recording this the night before because the lovely Jenny has other commitments tomorrow. So we won't be live, but we're still recording. Just one, no finessing, just one take live. What you see is what you get. So it's effectively the same as if we were actually live right now. So we're going to pretend we're live, aren't we? We don't have a specific theme for today's show, do we? So it's going to be very random. As I often say in our posts, anything from socks to self-belief and everything in between. So we'll see where it takes us. So come along for the ride. If you want to make comments, please do. We love to carry on the conversation. If you've got questions whilst we're not live today, we will be next time. So pop your questions in and we'd love to answer them for you live next time. So, right, shall we make a start?
Who's
So,
going first?
do you want to go first?
I do.
Oh, there you go then. Okay.
I do.
I'm ready to type your question in.
So, I happen to know because a little bird told me that you have a birthday coming up.
I
Um,
do.
and I have a number of friends who have, and relatives who have birthdays in January. And it's a bit like, and I know you also have family birthdays in December. So it's a bit
Yes.
of a double-edged sword, isn't it? When it's like buses, when all those celebrations come all very close together. So
Yeah.
my question is, um, and there's a double-pronged question, if I'm
Okay.
allowed that, is
Of course.
first thing, how do you make a birthday in January special and stand out? And is there anything else you do, a bit like the Queen? Um, is there anything else you do later in the year to kind of spread the joy?
Ah, very interesting. Okay, I'm just going to get that typed in so I can get it on the screen. So we'll add that on. Okay, so the immediate thing that springs to mind about having a January birthday, and as you have said already, we've got a Boxing Day birthday in the household. We've got 1st and 2nd of January, not in the household but close family. I'm on the 21st, hubby is on the 30th, and then the other daughter is in February. So we're all really bunched close together with birthdays. There's one way of looking at it is that anything that you don't get off your Christmas list, people already know what you want for your birthday. So that kind of cuts through that one and makes it nice and simple. But yes, there is a side to it that everything's over pretty quickly in terms of Christmas and birthday. And then you've got, I know everyone's got a year to wait for their next birthday, but there's then a long time to wait before the next kind of celebration of Christmas or birthday. But I guess to a great degree, I'm just used to it. And I think because I feel fortunate that it's in January, because most people do tend to separate it from Christmas. And that's one of the things with our youngest having a Boxing Day birthday. We've always been very careful to separate Christmas presents and birthday presents. They're not joint. And I've never really, there have been times I've been given joint things for both, but it's far enough away from Christmas because it's almost a month later that generally speaking, people do treat it separately. So I'm happy with that, even though it then means it's a long time before the next celebration. I'm happy with that because people do tend to treat it separately. If they put them together all the time, I think I might feel a bit different. And when you talk about doing something later in the year instead, I loved our great Queen, God rest her soul, and would love to be like her and have a second birthday, but I've never really taken that approach, albeit we have considered it for our youngest because her birthday being Boxing Day. Do we delay it 6 months almost? It's not that we wouldn't recognise the day, but do we then have a party 6 months down the line when the weather's nicer?
Well, I have to say, I have a very dear friend whose birthday is in January, and she always has an unbirthday party
Oh, I like
um,
that.
in August, and it's fabulous. And she invites her friends, and we all take a present, and she has a present tree, and we all
Oh,
hang the gift on the tree,
oh, I like
um,
that.
and then everybody takes a gift home that obviously that is different from the one. So it's called an unbirthday party, and it's magnificent, and it's a way of
Mm,
celebrating her
okay.
in the sunshine outside. And I think it's just a fabulous idea for, again,
Yeah.
particularly um, because it's hard to plan birthday parties. If you've got room inside, then that's great. But if you
Yeah.
haven't, actually having the opportunity to
Yeah.
be outside in the summer and do something special, I say she calls it very specifically an unbirthday party, and it's marvelous.
I like that idea. I might have to pinch that sometime. I like that.
It's a lovely idea, isn't it? I
Yeah.
just yeah, it's a really lovely way of doing it. So that's yeah.
Oh,
Um,
fantastic. Great question. So when's your birthday? Remind me, Jenny.
I'm April, so
April.
kind
So
of
it's yeah.
spring. And it's funny, isn't it? Because my children um, are all bunched around April. So my middle son was due on my birthday, and I said to
Yeah.
the midwife, "There is no way I'm spending my birthday in labour. Thank you very much. So he will just have to wait.
Yes.
I'm going out for dinner." And wait, he did. Just.
Excellent.
Um,
Just enough of it.
um, Yeah. So it's funny, isn't it, how they cluster. So we have
Yeah.
lots in April in our family, April and May.
Funny old thing, isn't it? Okay, so my first question for you, Jenny. Did you take? I know we're Christmas seems like a lifetime ago now, but I just wanted to ask: did you take time away from business activities during the festive break, and how important was that?
Um, yes, is the short answer. Yes, I did. Absolutely, for a number of reasons. Um, um, so I took a longer break than I would normally take. Um, but I think it feels really important to me to have that time away, probably because for many, 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 many years, when I was nursing, um, you always worked either Christmas or New Year, or
Yes.
both. um, so actually, I felt that I had done I'd done my whack
Yeah.
of working on Christmas at Christmas and New Year.
Independent. Yeah.
Um, over the years, kind of. So if I
Yeah.
have any choice about it, um, I do like to take the time off between Christmas and New
Yeah.
Year. Um, and I think there is that wintering thing, isn't there? That actually, I think
Yeah.
in another life, I was probably a bear. So that hibernation, that the need to kind of hunker down
Yeah.
and snuggle in at that time of year is quite strong.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I feel the same. Over the years, I've learned. I mean, there have been Christmases and New Years where I have worked, whether it, whether we're talking business or in my previous career. Um, but over recent years, I've become a bit more protective of the time off over Christmas and New Year. Really, I mean, obviously, it's to spend time with family and self care, but it's to make sure that I do have a rest. And I would recommend the same to anyone that make sure you do actually have a rest because obviously, as we all know, Christmas can be quite crazy and chaotic. So having a rest is actually quite important. So yeah, I did manage that really well this year. So this year, last year it was 2023.
Well,
So yeah, I
and
was quite pleased with that.
I think the fact that New Year was kind of over the weekend, so
Yeah,
I think quite a few people took that sort of week I mean, I started back last week, was my first week back.
Yeah.
So I had the sort of, third, fourth, fifth off as well.
Yeah. Fabulous.
Um,
Sounds good.
which wasn't quite as planned. But it wasn't planned. It was a necessity. But
Yeah.
I think lots of people, did plan to
Yeah.
take it as time off. So yeah.
It's a good thing. Okay, what's your next question for me?
Well, my next question is, if you could only be known for one thing, because you,
Ooh,
like me, we have quite a lot of strings to our bow, tools
yes.
in our boxes. Um, if there was one thing, if you had to pick one thing that you wanted to be known for, what would it be?
Ooh, gosh, that's an intriguing question. Only be known for one thing. I think I'd have to say it's about being a good listener and sort of the compassion that comes with that. I think the ability to help people feel heard, whether that's in business or in personal life, I just feel is really, really important and a fundamental part of what I do. So, being a good listener, those listening skills to really be able to tune into what someone's saying and to tune out of whatever's going on for you. As we all know, that can be difficult at times. But certainly, as you and I know, at least, probably many people watching as well. So yeah, it would definitely be around the listening side of my skill set. Yeah. What about you?
Oh, it's tricky. It is tricky. It was a really hard
Mm,
question when I wrote it, and of
it
course I
is.
write them kind of, when you're thinking of the questions, I write them down, and I don't think about the answers.
Yeah.
Um, so it is tricky, and I think the listening thing is really important. I think um, one of my, I don't know, superpowers is the ability to see in others what they can't yet see in
Yeah.
themselves,
Yeah.
and to kind of recognize that. Um, and I think it links really nicely, doesn't it, with the being
Yeah.
heard? Because it's the being
Definitely.
being heard and being seen.
Yes.
Um,
Very much.
so having the ability um, to see them things that they can't yet see in themselves.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's brilliant. Well, that was a great question. That was really interesting to have to try and think about that. Okay, so my next question for you is, and I think this could be an interesting conversation. Do you make New Year's resolutions?
Oh, no!
Oh,
End of conversation. No, um, no, I don't. Um, no, I don't. And I get, I get really, I could potentially, get really bolshy
yeah.
about the whole, all the media coverage, all the New Year, New You
Oh,
nonsense, all of
yeah.
that stuff, and the women's magazines and that whole thing, because it just feels, it's just feeding into that conditioning that we're not enough,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
there's something wrong with you. And I think, as with so many things, it's the language that we use, isn't it, that makes
Yes.
a
Yeah.
difference. Um, I like the idea of kind of having a plan-ish,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, a plan-ish, a kind of idea-ish. Um, and I was doing some work earlier this week, talking about, rather than goal setting, soul setting, and I really
Oh, I
liked
like
that.
that.
So I'm just working
Okay.
my way through that piece of work. Um, so I think it's definitely in the language that you use. Um,
Yeah.
so I, the short answer is no. I don't
Yeah.
make resolutions. I hate New Year's resolutions.
Yeah.
I think they're a way for lots of commercial companies to take lots of money off
Yes,
people, and make them
absolutely.
feel bad about themselves. And so it doesn't sit well with me. Um, I would much rather think about, what do I want more of? What do I want less of?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm
Is
I'm
about
right
as
with you on
resolution-y
yeah.
as I, but yeah, I could get quite stroppy with all this. You have
I
to
think we
be,
probably
you have
both could actually. I'm definitely in the Jenny camp on this one. I don't set resolutions. There was a time that I did, and I just think it's usually a hide into nowhere because there's no emotional attachment, and many people are setting these resolutions because they think they should, exactly as you've said, because of the media and the idea that we're not good enough, and now's the time that you need to do something about that. But what I oh, I said do. What I do is set
do do
my
do do.
is set my intentions for what I'm planning to do. And one thing in particular this year, in terms of goal setting and making plans to achieve those goals, I haven't just considered business goals. I've considered personal and life goals because the two are inextricably linked. Um, so that for me has been quite an interesting process this year, and I feel really invigorated this January. But it's not in the sense of, oh, it's because I've set some New Year's resolutions. Um, I feel if you want to set a resolution for something you have an attachment to that means something to you, why wait for New Year? That there's 365 new starts in any given year. So why this focus on New Year? For me, I do feel there is something about a new year, a fresh start, because you've had hopefully some downtime over Christmas, and then there is an opportunity for a fresh start. It's an easy opportunity, I suppose, to have that fresh start. But I don't believe in waiting for that fresh start. And I think that's the issue for many people. They say, oh, I'll do that next year. I'll do it as a New Year's resolution. Well, why not start now? 365 different days that you can set an intention to do something different. So yeah, I think we're in
And it's a
violent
bit like
agreement
that. Yeah, and it's a bit like that, dry January. And
there.
if you're using January as an opportunity to, look at change your relationship with alcohol, absolutely. But then I know so many people who go, yeah, I've got to the end. It's like a trial, I've
Yeah,
got
let's
to the
get
end of
drunk.
dry January, and on the 1st of February, I'm going to start where I left off. So I guess my point is, why are you doing it? To prove that you
Yeah,
can.
yeah,
What are you doing it for? Who are you doing it for?
yeah,
And if you feel so much better and you carry on to, it's a bit like, again, we're probably going off at a tangent possibly, but it's those awareness days. I love an
yeah.
awareness day, and there are millions of them, aren't there, throughout the
Yes,
year.
yeah,
And they're great for kind of nudging people, raising awareness,
yeah,
starting something. But actually, just for that day, World Kindness Day, great to be lovely and kind on that day. But if you're going to spend the next 360 days trolling various people
yeah,
on the internet, what's the point?
absolutely.
You know?
Yeah,
So I think there's that thing about it, who are you doing it for? Why are you doing it? And
yeah,
how does it fit with everything else in your life? Or are you doing it to be, to help a mate out, or to prove you can? What's the intention? Back to your intention.
yes.
What's the intention behind it?
Absolutely, and I think that would be the advice from both of us is think about what your intentions are behind any
Mm.
resolutions or goals that you set. What are you doing it for? That's a really great question to ask yourself. Fabulous. Okay,
And
your turn.
where's it coming from? Where's it
Oh, yes,
whose voice are you hearing when you're doing that? Is it yours? Is it
absolutely.
somebody else's?
Yeah, and are you doing
Yeah.
it just because you think you should, or
Yes.
because you actually want to?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a big difference. Okay, so your next question.
Well, you said at the beginning that our questions are really random and they go
Yeah.
from, socks to, soulmates, soul searching. So this one is a bit more sock-like, possibly.
Oh, I love it.
Um,
Okay.
so um, the weather has obviously got a bit chilly. It
Yes.
was -5 here this morning when I woke up, and apparently in some areas of the country it's going down to -15 tonight. Um,
Apparently so. Yeah,
so it's chilly.
it is.
So I wondered if you had a top tip for keeping warm that doesn't involve electricity or gas, or some form of um, electrical or power heating, a non-power sourced way of keeping warm.
Okay. Right. I'm just typing that in. I'll put it as. Oh,
A top
can't even
tip for
type.
keeping warm.
Energies. Right, there we go. Okay, I've done it. I'll get it up on the screen. Well, I mean, two of the big tips I'd give. The first one, I have a nice selection in my desk drawer of turtle doves. Don't know if
Oh, I
any of
love
you.
turtle doves.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they obviously come in all a fabulous range of different colours, and I will demonstrate. In fact, for anyone, apologies if anyone's
Well,
only listening with no visual. Um,
while you're
but
demonstrating, I can, for those people who are unfamiliar with Turtle Doves as a company, they recycle cashmere sweaters and
yeah,
turn them into gloves and scarves and hats and all sorts of things.
oh,
And
good.
Rachel is modeling a fabulous teal cashmere turtle glove hand warmer.
And they are fabulous for still being able to type, because they keep the majority of your hand warm, so your fingers aren't quite as cold as they would be, so that you can still type and do what you need to do on your computer. And yes, I love the fact, not only is it a British company, but it's recycling jumpers that would have gone to landfill, which I think is a fantastic endeavor. So I think I've got 4 pairs of them, so I can match them with different outfits. And the other tip, I mean, I guess it's pretty obvious. It's the layers, isn't it? I've got a fantastic, it's not an Udi, but it's one of those things that, like, oversized, thick hood, sort of woolly lined, really nice and thick. And I also, if it gets really bad, I have a very nice woolly wrap that I use as a granny blanket across my lap. So yeah, fairly bog standard tips, I guess, but those are my tips. But I would definitely check out Turtle Doves, because they're a fantastic brand. They do all sorts. They don't just do the fingerless gloves. They do all sorts of other things as well.
They
So
do all sorts of things, don't they?
yeah, yeah. So what about you?
Those are very top tips. Well, of course, the other thing is movement, isn't it?
Oh, of
So
course,
moving.
absolutely.
So
Yeah,
that thing where you do that, so all your layers,
yeah,
rubbing, so that any kind of movement, um, any kind of movement, um,
yeah,
is good for raising the temperature, and actually raising your mood, isn't it? A good,
yeah, definitely.
brisk.
And we should, once an hour, be getting up from the desk and moving around, get the blood flowing again, get the juices pumping. Yeah,
And
definitely,
it
really
doesn't,
important.
according to my chiropractor, it doesn't even have to be a very long walk outside. It can
No,
be a brisk 10 minutes is all that you need.
yeah.
And that will keep your energy going. And obviously, if you have the opportunity, hug somebody. I always think that's great.
Oh yes,
Exchange of heat, a nice hug.
that would have to be
If
my
you can
favourite
find
method, I think.
you can find somebody to hug with or
Yeah,
without layers. That would be marvelous. And
yeah,
that's always a great way
absolutely.
of
Although we're not
keeping.
necessarily recommending random strangers on the street for the hugs. However,
You never know.
whatever
Yeah,
floats
always
your boat.
ask permission.
Yes, that's
Always
yeah,
ask permission.
yeah,
Always ask permission before you randomly hug a stranger in the street.
yes.
But yes. um, So
Love it.
I said it was kind of random. It was more on the sock line, wasn't it?
Oh, it's
Um,
brilliant. I love it. Yeah, it gave me a chance to show off my turtle dove. So that's brilliant.
yeah.
Okay, so my last question is actually related to my last one, and I think we'll be on the same page on this one without a doubt. But what do you think of the Blue Monday phenomenon?
Do you know, I nearly asked a question about this and it was funny. So firstly, I thought that Blue Monday was next Monday, not the Monday just gone. So I was a week behind.
Right?
Um, Secondly, I my understanding of Blue Monday is that it was a phenomenon that was invented by the travel industry to
Bingo.
encourage people to take more holidays, and it's the time of year when people are feeling, January is a long month, isn't it? You've got
Yes.
all the excitement, as we said earlier, you've got all the excitement of Christmas and New Year. You've got all the kind of new beginnings, new you, bikini body, all that nonsense. And then you've got that kind of, oh, it's a long time till the end of the month.
Yeah.
So what do we need to do? We need to tell you all that you're miserable, and it
Yes.
was really interesting. So I was thinking about blue, the color blue, and I
Yeah.
thought, well, it's funny because we talk about the blues, don't we? Oh, we've got the blues, blues as a genre of music.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, actually, when I think of blue, I think of fabulous azure skies, and
Yeah. Yeah.
blue is a color of confidence and power, and it's a great color, so it isn't a sad colour at all.
No.
So it's
No.
interesting. I need to do some more work on that kind of psychology of colour. But it isn't blue
Mm.
isn't a sad colour.
No, no. I mean, I'm the same. When I think of blue, I think of vibrant blue. I don't think
Yeah.
of anything sad. And I think Blue Monday again takes us back to what you said previously about the media telling us how we need to feel. So
Mm,
I think there will be a swathe of people who will really buy into the, oh well, it's Blue Monday, well I'd best have a day off work then and sit at home and be depressed, or I'll do what the travel industry wants me to do and book a holiday. Now don't get me wrong, for anyone watching that's in the travel industry, I know January is a huge month. People do make a lot of bookings in January, so there's lots of great deals out there. Nothing wrong with booking yourself a holiday in January. I'm all for it. Book it, book one every month of the year. um,
book it
but
with joy, not because you're miserable.
yes, exactly, exactly. To be told by the media that we're all going to be miserable because it happens to be the third Monday in January is just a bit crackers. We don't got uh, a bit more about us than that, to not have to feel that way. It's a bit crackers. But there you go.
Exactly. And I think that whole thing about you get to choose, don't you? You get to choose
Yeah,
how you feel. And there
absolutely.
might be a Monday where you feel miserable. Actually, there might be I don't know, Purple Tuesday where you're not
Yeah,
feeling so great. So it's that thing, isn't it, where people that it was my dad used to say about correlation of uncorrelatable facts. When it's the same thing, isn't it? About
yeah,
never let facts get in the way of a good story.
yeah,
If you
absolutely.
can,
Yeah,
and if you say it often enough, then it becomes it becomes truth, and people then hang things on it, don't they?
yeah,
And if you're feeling a bit, if you're having a tough day, and the first thing you do when you open the newspaper or turn the telly on is that they go, and today is the day that everybody feels miserable. It's Miserable Monday. Um, then you have that kind of, you wilt a bit, don't you?
yeah,
It's exactly the
yeah,
same as if you see somebody, if you meet somebody on the way to work, um, and they say morning, and you go morning,
yeah,
and if you see somebody who goes morning, you kind of go, oh,
yeah.
the
It,
next person you see, you go, oh, morning. It,
yeah,
that
brings you
mood
down. Yeah,
moods can be lifted or lowered, um,
yeah,
just by the energy in the room, can't they? Which is one of the
absolutely.
reasons we love the Renny show, is
Yes,
because we want it to be that kind of energy, not that kind of energy.
yeah, definitely, definitely. As always, on the same page. So
what's really interesting is that if we know we always say this is the questions are not prepared. Rachel
yeah.
and I have no idea what we're going to ask each other because I too have a selection of turtle dove
Oh,
handwear. And
great
if I had
minds.
known you were going to ask that, I would have modelled my own.
Fantastic.
So if you needed
Absolutely love
evidence
it.
that we are kosher,
Yes.
and does what it says on the tin,
Yeah,
there you
that's
go.
definitely us. Fantastic. Love it. Well, I think that brings us to the end of our questions for today. But for those of you that have been watching, we've been, dropping little bits of information and hints about what's going on with launching this as a fully fledged podcast on all the podcast platforms at the end of the month. So 31st of January, folks, that's the date we're working to. We've got some very exciting graphics, which we're hopefully going to be able to share with you in the next couple of days. Our graphic designer, Jenny Southey, if you're out there, we love you. You're brilliant. She's done a fantastic job of our working with our brief to come up with something that we both think is fantastic. So there's a couple of little tweaks still going on, but we're nearly ready to release all that. So watch out on all the platforms because we'll be putting the pictures everywhere and telling everyone about that launch. So if you're around on the 31st at 12:30, then we'd love you to join us because that'll be a really special show. So other than that, I think it's just time to say thank you to anyone that's watched, and don't forget to put those comments in and let's carry on the conversation and send us your questions. In fact, if you've got questions for the 31st, that could be a really exciting show, an exciting way to do the show so that we literally have no idea what's happening. So we would strongly encourage you to submit your questions ready for the 31st. So apart from that, is there anything else you'd like to say, Jenny?
I think you have encapsulated it beautifully. And it's just really just to say, we hope the rest of your fortnight goes well. And we will see you on the 31st of January, live in person, podcasting for the first time. The Renny Show as a podcast. We're so excited about it. And there will be opportunities for guests to join us on the Renny
Yes,
Show.
of course, which is
So
very exciting.
exactly. So if you think you would like to be a guest on the Renny Show, then please let us know. And we will let you know when and where and how and what.
Absolutely. Fabulous. Oh, it's a very, very exciting time. And this is one of the reasons
It
I'm
is.
feeling particularly invigorated this January, because I'm very excited about this journey that we're on. So all good stuff. Right. Well, I think it's time to say goodbye, folks. So thanks for tuning in, and we shall very much look forward to seeing you on the 31st. Ta-ta!
Bye.